Today I'm going to show you how to set up a backup protection plan on the IronTree version 2 console. The first thing you want to do is navigate to this web address in a browser, loveyourdata.za.irontree.cloud. At this point you want to log in with the customer's backup credentials, then enter the password, then click next. When you see this screen, you want to click on the cyber protection tile. This will take you to the customer's backup console directly. And the first thing we're going to see here is a list of the devices. If the device has a dark icon like this one, it means the device is online, as opposed to these two devices here with the grayed out icon. This means those devices are offline. In order to protect the device, we need to locate the device in the list over here, and then simply select it. At this point, the window on the right hand side will open up. We want to click on Protect. The first thing we can do is name the protection plan. So naming the protection plan will assist us identifying what device we are protecting when we get automatic email reports for the successful backups. So I'm going to name it according to the device I'm protecting. Then click OK. And now I've named the protection plan. The first thing to do is to select what we want to back up. By default, it's going to select the entire machine. If we select the entire machine for backup, the recovery process will allow us to use an ISO image that the console will produce, and that can be used to boot off the new device in the event of a disaster. Alternatively, what you can do is select files and folders. The next option would be specifying exactly what files and folders we want to back up. So we can click on Specify and then select files and folders. I can then navigate through this device's C drive, select all the data that I want to back up, in this case we will select a very important text document and a consolidated sales sheet. Once you've selected all of our data, we can click Done. It will then give us a summary of the data that we have selected, and we can click OK. The option where to back up, by default this will be cloud storage. This is the IronTree data center. You can leave that as is. The next thing is the schedule. So this is telling the application how often we want to back up. Once I've clicked on that, I can then start adjusting the schedule. I can leave it by default a weekly backup, Monday to Friday, and then that has a single start time. I can drop down here and choose a different start time if I need to. If I wanted to back up multiple times a day, I could click the hourly option. Make sure that Monday through to Friday is still selected. If you want to back up on Saturday as well, simply select Saturday. And then over here we can say how often or what's the interval of hours we want to run the backup. So dropping down on that, I can select every 3 hours. From and to allows me to set a window for the backup to take place. So from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening, there's going to be a backup that runs every 3 hours. Once I've set up my schedule, I can then click Done. We get confirmation Monday through to Saturday, and it's going to repeat every 3 hours from 8 in the morning until 6 in the evening. Our next option is how long to keep the data. So this is our retention policy. You can go in here and adjust that according to your business's needs. Simply click the plus or the minus to adjust the parameters. Then once done, click Done. Our next option is encryption. So by default, your data will be encrypted before it leaves your device while it travels to the data center, and once it arrives at the data center, it will remain in an encrypted format without me turning this on. If I turn on this encryption, it will ask me to enter a password, and this will essentially password protect my current protection plan and backups that have taken place on the console. If I try to edit anything or recover my data, I'll be prompted to enter the password that I set here. Keep in mind that there's no way to recover this password, so if you lose it, that means we can't recover any data for you. Our next option is backup options. So these are a few more technical adjustments that we can make to the protection plan. If I click on change over here, I get a list of options here for the backup. The first one is an alert. So if I turn on this alert, it will notify me after a set amount of consecutive days for a failed backup, it will then generate an alert for me. So if I adjust that to 3 days, after 3 days of no consecutive backups, I'll get notified via email that my backups are out of date. The next option here we can adjust is the file filters. So I can set my exclusion list over here. Do not backup files matching the following criteria. I can enter the name or the path or the mask of the data that I don't want to include. So this could be non-critical business data, most of the time like a MP3 or an MP4 or executables. IronTree have a default list of exclusions that will be provided to you. The next option we want to set up is task failure handling. So what happens if a task fails, and a task can be described as a backup. So if a backup fails, how many times do I want to reattempt that backup? So we can say 3 times, and then the interval between those attempts we can leave at 1 hour. Once I've finished setting up the backup options, I can click done. And I've now configured the backups to take place. You can refer to our active protection guide in terms of the settings that we recommend for active protection. Our next option is the vulnerability assessment. This is included in the backup application, and essentially this will scan your computer's applications for any updates that are required, and that includes both your Microsoft and third-party applications. You'll then get an email report and a report in the dashboard notifying you if any of your software is out of date or end of life. Once I've gone through these settings, I can then scroll to the top and then apply this protection plan. It will optimize the plan for the device. We'll get confirmation that the Transactive plan has been applied. Now I can either leave this plan to run according to the schedule, or if I wanted to manually kick off a backup now, I can simply click the play button and that will kick off the backup for me. I can then close this window by clicking the X over here. If I wanted to monitor the progress of the backup taking place, I can navigate to the dashboard and then activities, and this will list all of the activities that have been taking place in this customer's backup console. You can see over here that it's completed 12% and there's about 7 minutes left for the protection plan called Transactive.